Exposition
According to Tsongkhapa's explanation, does I always appear to sentient beings as real or inherently existing? For example, for me as a Giluk student studying Tsongkhapa's teaching on the Middle Way, when I am walking, sitting, or meditating to watch the I, the thought I comes up gently without strong emotion. Is that always a real I or sometimes a mere I? When I say mere I mean a conventionally existent I that exists by mere imputation. Okay. Yani 제름부치기 숭출라 nga sodi simchinla du taktu dimbarduba nangiduges chik simchinla nga nana ding nga dindrup nangidgas ani pechashana nga lop kedrukin di jeromjegi ume tawag that's lopchongchegi ani dingsang kompa gap ya denle de ya kompa that's gyana dininga nga di dagi do sigido 그런 nga dingsang loptuk gendukins gendukins geduk loma 제창디 nga ume다와 콜 데스 롭종체기유스 이 딩상 ngatil 다기유스 따지치기유스 nga디 카레스 사노타기도스 아니 디 nga디 슈키 중이도 그래 아니 디 ngati dembardubing nga tsam your pace
dematu nga tam dugu arasire
mane
ko da nga shu yu dos di da nga tsam de khares
no dembardubing nga tsam sigi and di chechang di nga tsam so di tanitu yepe nga yangna 다니도 예뱅아 독배 다참 레베스
다는 제대로 다 고마서 저 나한테 독배 다참 레스 다 나한테 카디 나나 나란들 나도 가라 된루고 나와서요 말했어 저 된루 많아 바기 아니 나 가서 추나 만개기 타냐빙 타냐 짬진 아데 나라도라 나 가버렸어 요 양거 말했어 봐
딘줍긴 낭와
딘주 난디 잡방 딘주도 나지 난거 와래 봐 딘주가 난거 와래 딘주가 말아
말해 이 딘줍도 낭냥
난다 난거 와래
딘파 징기르베스
가사기에 로 나디에 나 덴바 잼미도 나주도 말 덴바 징겐도 덴좀 덴바 메징가도 나서도 대소소 가사소설 하려고
So then the basic point here, I'm not sure about some of the question, whether I understood it or not, but basically whenever the I appears to sentient beings, this was referring to people, ordinary people, then it appears as if it was real. So whenever it appears, it has that appearance, but it doesn't entail, that appearance doesn't entail that the person necessarily misapprehends the I as being real, because there's, as said, various ways in which people can apprehend the I or apprehend the I.
Yeah. 아니 가서래. 맞든도 만왕가데 과로아래 sana 만왕가데 제가 나이 띵도 돈용 모습도 또 로텔라. 다 된다는 그 말이. 자. 나이 띵도 되는 돈용 모습도 로텔라. 아니 된다는 그 말이. 대마인 밖에 산재 마인 밖에 산재 그 만재기 아니 돈용 모습도 로 마인 밖에 나 간다지 나나야 콜레 된다고 나오면 요 말이 곧 네.
So then, as far as like the eye, the way the eye appears, once one has directly realized emptiness, then with respect to the eye, then within the context of that understanding of the emptiness of the eye, then there's no appearance of the eye as being real within that context. But apart from that specific instance or context, whenever the I appears to beings apart from Buddhas, the I appears as if it was real.
Oh yeah. Tia sanje ji sam madum chenje tu mari badan ti bhaja karung ke male bi shewani nyasha namba medo bi yishi memba mela si gobara sayore. 산재 그 삼마도 봐도 돈용 웃음도 비 이些많이 받기 아니 말이 바자기 말이 바자기 말에 비 시와들라 돈용 웃음도 비 이些많이 받만도 생각가 말이 바자기 내버렸어 말이 바자기 내대가라 콜단 투나 연구하래 시와들 말이 바자 내대가라 아니 콜 투나 되나 요거
So thus except for Buddha, I mean until one achieves Buddhahood, all cognitions of things like an eye or whatever, when things are apart from this direct, the gnosis that realizes emptiness directly, apart from that gnosis, all of these appearances of things appear as if they were real, because all of those forms of awareness are adulterated by the propensities of ignorance. They're all adulterated or contaminated with these by the propensities of ignorance. So, in that being so, then all of these appearances appear in an erroneous fashion. Or we can say they appear as real in this erroneous way.
Oh yeah. That way.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh, 다 간절로 전화 라시지 동바당 여바기 쳐바 쳔미 셰베 아니 가서래 라시지 연나 여고 가서 라시지 맨나 메고와 어 된저기 쳐바 마셰바기 다 되네 유미미미 세가라 라시지 여바야 마이 메바야 마이 세 어디서야 되라 아니 저도 마셰바 인상 아니 탐야게 남샤 샹오라 깨니 생진오를 아니 진짜 근데 남샤 태그래 랑 생경간치 아니 켈랑 탐자단 트라이베 아니 가서래 나라 켈랑 매바 인자 켈랑 타와단 트라이와 인자 아니시 진짜 남샤 켈랑 그 말에 생각치 나 되니 전다디 여바당 매바 예미 여바당 여바 민바당 매바기 쳐바 많이 쳐바치 미체미 생각 여바 어디 가나 아니 여바 민바开连장 아니 야 매바开没连배 매바 민바开连장 여바开没连게 원디지 쳐바 미생각이 아니 다디기 진짜 송거래 여바 인자 다 단다 뒤에 수요 가나 여바 민바당 여바 니당 매바 민바다 매바스레 여바 마이메 매바 연구래 그러나 여바 마이나 매바 연구래 매바 마이나 여바 연구래 여바다 여바다 매바세가 체매미 비나샤거리 체매미 체매미 마미라
체매맘믹
체매미 바 여바 체매마미 매바 여바다 매바세리 그래서 다대 여바 마이나 매바 연구레스 매바 마이나 아니 여바 연구레스 그러와 여바 마인 바인 여바 마인 매바 마인 여바 마인지 잡아지야요 말이지. That is correct.
So then, as we've been discussing above, that there's various kinds of misconceptions that arise from not being able to distinguish between not existing by intrinsic nature and non-existence, not being able to distinguish those two, or not being able to distinguish mere existence from existing by intrinsic nature on that side too. And if this inability to distinguish these simple existence from existing by means of intrinsic nature, or simple non-existence from not even being able to distinguish that from not existing by intrinsic nature, this results in a multitude of different kinds of wrong views or misconceptions. For example, some people will say that this entails that one can't say that things are or that they are not. One cannot assert either the existence of something or its non-existence. And then others will say that, or in addition maybe, that this involves then not having any kind of making any kind of assertion whatsoever, or not having anything that one accepts on one's own side in any way whatsoever. That and such that when this position is put forward, they'll say we'll sort of adopt the notion of causality that causes give rise to effects, that karma gives rise to experience, positive and negative experiences. But that's just really for within the perspective of other people. That's not, we don't have that assertion within our own system. We simply adopt that with respect to others. And then, so at the basis of this is, again, this inability to distinguish existence and existing by intrinsic nature, or non-existence and being completely non-existent by intrinsic nature. So not being able to make those kinds of differentiations. And therefore, especially with respect to this view which holds that things, you don't say that things, one doesn't assert that something exists, and you don't assert that something does not exist. You're not willing to make either of those assertions, because you say that if something exists, it would exist by means of intrinsic nature. Therefore, I'm not going to say, I say that I won't say that it does exist. And then, or you'll say that if something doesn't exist, it doesn't exist intrinsically, and therefore it would be completely non-existent. And seeing the problem of asserting that position, one doesn't want to assert existence, non-existence of things. So you say, I don't say that it does not exist either, and then presents it in that kind of way.
Yes, sir.
Yupa member.
Yupa maimba kailan, yupa kailan kores.
Yupa maimba kailan.
Yupa maimba kailan, yupa kailan kores. Yupa da meba singa de cheme mima mires. Right? Accordingly, yupa maimba dang ani kasre mebe chaba. Meba maimba dang yebe chaba chen. It's a chick chan chick. 这个话的，一个团落了车出，车怎么的？车把酱油买的些，对的。没把当也把马英把了，落了车出车把油买的，车没得嘛。没把马英把当也把了， lola chazu chabayo, chigi chabamado, lola chazu chabayo amares. That is unquare.
So then, when one says that the different, this sort of talk is actually just a inability to recognize that this is simply a semantic distinction, a verbal kind of distinction that's not doesn't have anything to do with the way things actually are, because when you, as it says here, that they're not able to this kind of system is not able to differentiate by saying that something exists and something does not exist, not be able to distinguish those. And then they're not able to they think there's a difference actually between saying that something is not existent and something is non-existent. They believe that there's that kind of there is a distinction between those two expressions, but in reality there isn't. So let me re-say that because I think I made a mistake earlier in the day. So so making the distinction, differentiating, making a distinction between not existing and being non-existent, making a distinction between being existent and not being non-existent, that sort of distinction is nothing but some kind of difference in expression. But both of them, when these pairs appear to the mind, then no matter how much you examine them, there's no difference whatsoever with respect to them.
Oh yeah. Yes, that is. Through the time we don't have to was that all. Thế riba, nhưng mà thế nào riba ngắm mà đối mặt chơi rằng, ta chỉ thấy cái riba thì là thế này, ta đối chơi cái số đối mặt chơi anh ra xem mà thế nào phải thế là, ta chú ý về cái này, thằng bố đối chơi để mấy đối riba anh trúng na, ta không đối chơi về ra xem YouTube về chỉ ta thấy cái rồi ta chơi về ta lại, anh ấy đã đang thông báo là sao vậy? Anh ra xem mà tên là đối象一圈啦，ra xem mà tên là phạm nhân，天在为anh ra xem mà tên là phải bị riba，即土着的，打军人的，打对马车的都把别的怎么，是吧？anh对马车ra xem mà tên là phải，他不对象他们都riba怎么呢？对马车他们都入了我这些就光把tên把你，早些的光把tên把你，
So then all of that talk above it was just when somebody says that kind of method of making that way of differentiating existence and not being non-existent or non-existence and not being existent, then all of that is claiming that prevents one from falling into an extreme in that way is just a mere fondness for words. So this then leads into the next subject, or the next subject is that that this reasoning that we've given above, and as well as the previous reasons, which are the previous reason was the reason by virtue of or analyzing things by virtue of their being identical or different. That kind of reasoning. Previously, it's been applied to things that are created things. But here, one can also use those same reasonings to establish things that are uncreated as being unreal as well. And so, with respect to this, it says there's multiple parts to this demonstration here, the way this works. Is that first, having shown that created things are unreal by means of having established by reason that created things are real, then it's relatively easy to establish that uncreated things are unreal, and the difference or the reason for dealing with created things first is that it's once you've done that, then you can show more easily, or it's easier to show that uncreated things are unreal, and that's the intention of the basic wisdom of Arya Nagarjuna, and so this will be shown below.
야, 대다를 가사당 최세 나쁜거 다시 품고 뒤제는 아시아비 일반 남지 때문에도 줍나 당아시아비 안에 가서를 가사라 써와 랑기 다시 당 아니 지단 타대라 다에 다시 품보다 아니 안에 차단 차전단의 거에 왜 차단 차전단이 차단 차전이요 다시 다전이요데 라시지 주비 지기나 안에 타대 때문에도 지도 주에 아니 라신지 주비 타대이나 제메 텐션 윤거와게 아니 홍도를 받다 기다 가야디 된다위 리바남 리바남지 때문에도 좁나 다디 리바 대기 아니 수 난가다 올랐잖아 난가라 차다 차전이 난가대라 토르 가슴지 메가 대양 아니 샤족이 난가 누족이 난가 야나 가서 되게 분비 코동 샤족이 분비 코동을 채배 난가 누족이 분비 코동을 채배 난가 자서나 대 차전 차다 차전 난가당 차다 차전 도스도고 와인자 대니 어디 제메 텐션이 찍이나 차단체 찍이나 안에 샤조지 난가라 분비 코동을 채배 난가 대당 누족이 분비 코동을 채배 난가지 어디 아니 오직이나 안에 다들 때문에 지연게 나가다 권인이 어디로 아니 나가다 권인이 어디 때문에 텐션이 타자 있나네 때문에 텐션이 타자 인게 오다 대다 텐데기 나가라를 받자야지 야
So then thus just as one is established that the person and phenomena here, phenomena could be taken as the aggregates, which are the basis for designating a person, person being the thing which is designated, and then the basis for that that designation being the aggregates, the phenomena of the aggregates that make up the basis of designation of the person. These things are all created phenomena. And so having established that those are, once one has established that those are unreal by means of the reasons which have been explained above, such as, so we've discussed about the way in which the person and the aggregates, if they're intrinsically, if the person is intrinsically identical with the aggregates, then all of these unacceptable consequences would entail. If the person is intrinsically different from the aggregates, then all the various unacceptable consequences would obtain or entail. And similarly, when we analyze the person and the aggregates in terms of the aggregates being parts that are the basis for designating the person, and then the person is the that which has those parts. If we look at the relationships between person and aggregates from analyzing it in that way, then we see that if they're intrinsically the same or they're intrinsically different, that a multitude of unacceptable consequences obtain. Therefore, they can't be established that way. Likewise, in terms of the aggregate, the person as the designated phenomenon, and then the aggregates as the basis of designation, if we look at them simply as have that relation in terms of if the two are identical or the two are intrinsically different, then all of the different unacceptable consequences entail. And so all of those ways we can establish that the person is unreal in the way it's posited as being either identical or different intrinsically So those sorts of reasonings can also be applied to things like space, which is an uncreated phenomenon. So space, if we analyze space and look at it in terms of directionality, or there's space in the east, there's space in the west, and so forth. And if those are intrinsically identical, then problems obtain. If they're intrinsically different, problems obtain. Similarly, if we talk about sort of localized space, like the space that's within a pot that's to the east versus the space which is in a pot to the west, if the space in those two locales is intrinsically identical, different kinds of problems obtain, and likewise, if it's intrinsically different, problems obtain.
Oh yeah. 他这样现象呢，说说大有国巴赛的高单的说过的是吧？俺说说大名就国巴赛的，一点了大就国线说大名没事。人家说说大有国巴赛看来，俺的高单当，你们别只把帮把给，俺的说说大有国巴单在当，你让这准备说说大有国巴你我的，俺的鸡蛋切账钱，那天你我的，俺的。 看说的让兴趣准备几个呢？才让兴趣准备几个呢？我，俺呢，看说的，俺呢，让他的单位几多准备的见，我就让兴趣准备我几个呢？俺呢，他的单位几多准备给你我当。俺呢，听你让我太太人呢，俺呢专门推荐一个，那他就是把就把打着。
现在学家。 소소 다고라.
소소 다미지 고바.
디 다좀비규라.
다좀비지 고단데 소소 담고 대당 질 소소 담고 니오데.
질 소소 나고.
소소 담고 니오데.
So then we can also apply the same kind of reasonings to same kind of analysis to cessations that occur due to knowledge. These cessations are, for example, the truth of cessation, the cessations which are the abandonment, the eradication of the mental afflictions existing within the continuum of an arhat. These are cessations that arise that occur due to knowledge. So these kinds of cessations, if they're, you can analyze them in various ways. They're uncreated things, but if one analyzes them in terms of in terms of being either universals or particulars, then if one says that they're intrinsically identical as universals and particulars, then problems obtain. If they're intrinsically different as a universal and particulars, then likewise other problems obtain.
Oh yeah, that我听你讲的，但听你提醒你了说别是，提醒你了太那样，安尼碰壁定给提醒你，改外定给提醒你，是吧？恰起去说要的话。 我等你提醒你，我才说原因吧。提醒你我的，他在每个经验呢，东西确见你我的啊，他在每个经验各位。提醒你我的这门人呢，他在人呢这门天上人各位。我听这个，俺呢，他提醒你了说话，恰当确见了单呢，俺呢让心里准备就到他在没把单了旁呢。也提醒你了说话，给对嘛钱呢，别没对吃穷人就把它光呢，
소소 다민기 고바 소소 다민기 고바라
소 다민기 고 지바 다시 고 대나 지바 체 소 다민기 고바 코랑 아니 가서 제가 된도 키체 봐 고선 소소 다민배是吧 아 给我了키체 배但多是其他没人都抢多了吧
So then we can also apply this to cessations that are not due to knowledge. For example, this is if we're talking within the context of, say, the Vaibhashika school, where they posit that something like the non-arising of something because it was obstructed, that non-arising they will posit as a cessation which occurred, but it's not a cessation which occurs due to knowledge. So they're defined as cessations that are not due to knowledge. Those kinds of absences or cessations also can be analyzed in the same way as the cessations that arise due to knowledge. Then also one can do the same kind of analysis with suchness. Suchness is, if we take it in terms of like the suchness of a pillar, for example, then the suchness of the pillar is if we say that it exists within the entirety of the pillar, but if it existed intrinsically, then one would say that its localization within one part of the pillar, if it was intrinsically identical with if suchness was intrinsically identical with the suchness located in a single part of the pillar, then there would be a problem in that it would not apply to the suchness located in the other part of the pillar. And then similarly, if it was indistinguishably different from one part, the suchness of one part of the pillar, then the same kind of problem would obtain, that it would not exist, or it would not occur within the other part of the pillar. The localization of suchness in the different parts of the pillar would, all of those instances of suchness would be unrelated, have no relationship to one another.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and so that all of these ways of explaining the way in which this identity or difference being intrinsically established applied to uncreated things, it's relatively easy to, with relatively less difficulty to establish uncreated things as being unreal.
Oh, yeah. 사실 뒤제로도 맞추베 뒤제 안에 가져서나 직접다지 루바 된다라 때네 안 뒤제 라신지 라도 맞추베 라신지 맞추베 안에 루바 텔라 때네 라신지 맞추바 루베 루바 텔라 때네 안 뒤마치지 뒤제로도 맞추던 뒤마치네 시다 춥시 어디든 안에 뒤마치야 라신지 바꿔는 그래 대균전 제송소 대균전 다 뒤제 라신지메 바 좀네 대제소 뒤마제 라신지메 바 또라루 간데레스나 줄라루니 뒤제 라신지 주와 아달 까바나 지투라지르 발라데나 아달 까바나 아니 뒤제 대다게 띵도 라신지 마주비장 아니 균데라 소베 남샤 탐제 아니 샤 초바데 통웨 와 라신지 마주장 태남라 아니 코르 칭와다 줄레뉴라 데나 코르 칭와다 아니 람데라 아니 람 코르 초제게 람 아니 초제게 주 람데라 데네 코르 초게 초와다 아니 대부제지 그 주당 유텔라 데나 집에 대부 아니 참에 샤자 자제 참아서 아니 자제 탐제 샤베 아니 초베 둘라 어디서 그때도 와 라신지 투메 까베 아니 타냐 잠도 아니 라랑게 아니 차와치 아니 자제인데 샤베 초베 둘라.
So then there's a quotation from the Basic Wisdom, which shows, which explains why it's relatively easy to, or it's relatively easy to establish the unreality, absence of being real with respect to uncreated things, where it says that by establishing that created things are let's see, by virtue of the fact that created things are unestablished. Here, where it says unestablished, it refers to they're not established by means of intrinsic nature. So they're established as not having intrinsic nature. That's what the term it literally means, not established. Created things are not established means they're not established by intrinsic nature. Then, the verse says, if it's the case that created things are not established, then how could one establish uncreated things? So that's the basic verse. And then the explanation of this is as follows: that the way in which it's easy to establish uncreated things as being unreal is that then when one has negated created things as being established by means of intrinsic nature, as previously, as we've gone through already previously, then those things, although they're not established by means of intrinsic nature, they nevertheless we can establish them through positing them we're able to establish that they exist as in relationships such as creating bondage and liberation, functioning as cause and effect, functioning as object of valid knowledge and the valid knowledge that knows objects of things that are validly knowable. And so all of these functional relationships, by establishing those, that means here where it says through establishing those, it means establishing them conventionally within the context of conventional knowledge. And so when we can establish that that created things are not established by means of their intrinsic nature, yet we're able to establish that those things operate within relationships, such as the mental afflictions bind one to samsara, and the origin of suffering gives rise to suffering. The path gives rise to the cessation of suffering, which is liberation, and then regular or other forms of causality, cause and effect. And then also knowledge operates through, valid knowledge operates where there must be an object which is validly known, and then the valid cognition which knows it. All of these relationships, by establishing them, then the created things can be established in that way. Again, the Shakpe Chokpa Dru. So it's simply by, it's sufficient to posit them in this conventional way to establish that they exist in these relationships.
Oh yeah. 라시지 마주단 태남라 진도 준제 자자 아니 자제소 자제 샤베 초바디 춤나 대춤나 뉘제남라 아니 드마체 천이당 드마체 천이당 소소 당고 세가라 아니 다 톱자 아니 방자 봉제기 남된라 때네 아니 방자 태단테 방비 방자태단테 차와 대라 소소다고 쓰고와리 님보 동이 옹심도 도베 남된게 돕지 아니 방지차 강양 중화지 차위 차차대라 소소다고 쓰고와리 차와보 소소소소 있어요 다고 다불라야 아니 다고 다면 댐바 마주장 다고 댐바 마주장 거랑 파제 매랑 그 톱지 톱아 남지 톱자당 파제 매람 뒤 방자 되기 파제 매랑 그 오가 되기 방자 되기 녀보 체네 아니 타르 뭐가지 빵자대 빵빛 아니 차와 아니 톱자 차와디 톱자 남지 톱자당 아니 년보 돈용 것음도 비 바자 매남 되게 샤자 돈이 아 남지 톱자당 샤자당 아니 도지 때문에 아니 체육군조 과단도 과단다 남자 뉴워디 체육군조로와 도지 때문에 체육군조서 잡아 소지 과람 뉴워디 도지 때문에 체육군조서 잡아 소지 남샤나 레버를 샤베 초베
So then, once one's established created things in that way, that even though they're devoid of intrinsic existence, they're nevertheless, we must actually establish them conventionally within the context of functional relationships. Then, once one has done that, then one can also establish in a similar fashion that uncreated things, such as nature. Here, nature is referring so such as nature here, dharmata, it refers to emptiness. And then also the negations, cessations that arise from knowledge. So here this is referring to emptiness itself as the object of knowledge, which is understood within the path, and then the path of knowing that object of that object affects the cessation, various forms of cessation, of the elimination, the cessations which are the eliminations of the things to be gotten rid of through the course of the path. So on the course of the path, there are multiple levels of things to be eliminated, and through understanding the nature of things, emptiness, then that affects those separation from those things which are to be gotten rid of, and those separation from the things to be gotten rid of is themselves are cessations. So on the path, then those kinds of so then also one's able to establish that the nature, which is shunyata, as well as the cessations which arise from knowledge, even though they're not established as real, they nevertheless can be properly posited as the things to be obtained on the path, that which is to be obtained on the path, the thing which is to be validly known within the context of the path. So the thing to be obtained on the path here refers to those cessations, the kinds of the cessations that arise from understanding, or from the cessations that arise that occur due to knowledge, and so those can be obtained. And then likewise the emptiness, which is that which is to be validly known within the path, those can be properly established. And then likewise these can be properly, the whole arrangement by which these are properly posited as acting as the refuge for those who are to be trained on the path. So here refuge refers to, specifically here we're talking about the Dharma jewel. Dharma jewel here referring particularly to true cessations and true paths which lead to those cessations. So these can be established as as the refuge in that way, and all of these kinds of presentations can be validly, properly established, and it's sufficient to do it in the way that was mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah. 군주 최군주를 잡아주지 남샤 남 레바를 잡아 초배 대균자라 거니 대남대 말 캐 말라나다 대말 캐 말란 된루도 캐 말라나 아니 대나 샤고베 남샤 미대 가데지다 군주나 중앙매지 지밤에 파베 덴바 시원나 철람메바 타와 주루 자실에 수만하지 디다 덴바 캐 말란바데 덴베 또나 아니 파베 덴바시 중앙매 귤레데는 저 미중하다 아니 람덴라데나 고단 미도 요군줄라데나 저 동안 미셔와키 대남 샤고베 남샤 미대제 강양 말 메베 대남 덴바 캐렘비 템에도
So then, since it's the case that we can sufficiently establish things in this way, even though they're unreal, we can establish them as before. Then one cannot say, or it's rather one could say it's pointless to claim. Therefore, one cannot say at all that if one, and here's an opponent who might be presenting the idea that if we don't accept those as being real, such as the four truths, all of the, or specifically the uncreated aspects of the four truths, the emptiness and the true path and so forth, if we don't accept those as real, then there's no way, there's no this sort of presentation which Denam shakube namshak. Denam shakube namshak.
Denam shakube namshak tamide. Dembe madonna denam shakube namshak mide.
So this
dembe donna dembe donna. Kwana siwara ngoma waki wa.
So
adedita kundona jungwa mesi chiba mesika.
So then for someone to say that it's invalid to establish these things because there's no necessity of establishing these things if they're unreal, if you don't accept them to be real, then that sort of position one can't say that. And it's pointless, and therefore it's pointless to claim that those things are real. Here, this is in reference actually to, there's another verse in the Basic Wisdom where Arya Nagarjuna has said that if presenting the position of a realist opponent, the realist opponent would say that if all of these things are empty, then they could not originate and they could not disappear. And then if that's the case, then the four truths would be could not be established, could not be validly established. So in the position, from the perspective of the realist, if things are not established intrinsically, there's no way to establish them even conventionally. So therefore, from their position, they would say if everything is empty, then there's no way for suffering to originate. There's no way to eliminate suffering. The path and the cessation which arises from the path, there's no way to validly establish them.
Oh yeah. That do much a Obaso Ranshi Damba Doba Yang, that then the Ribaletana Kosutera. Tenam Damba Debe Jang, Tenam Damba Debe Jang, Damba Debe Jang, Tedaki Tanzans, Ra, Subuna Sova Chenja, Susuruma Sova Chenje, Tanzan. Chaju Sana, Tajushu and Nasi Jenny. Bangja Tedan Te, Tan Tower Chibi do. 아니 반자티기 년보 파자매랑 무슨 반자티 부정말 챙겨기 아니 파자매나 돈용 무슨 더 별로디 차주디체 이와 차주지 텐자위 년보 파자매랑도 관발라 때네 뒤 뭐가기 빵무지 세버려 쳐봐 그 반자 대당 차 반자대 세비 세밤 차와 과바 어 텐자와데 찬제 차위대부 저우천이 밤만 임바체 그와 강기도지 강토바 찬제스라 제장 주치비 저부들라 강기도지 강제바 대디 주치레지 야나 강기톱지 강토바 대디 주치레지 스체니 주치레들 뒤제도만 이체 요거 sha고래 그와 주치비 저부들라 강기도지 강토바 년보 파자면나 강기도지 가르토바래 해서나 년보 파자멜람디 오가기 아니 방자데 세범 방자태단 처비 차와디 토바 인장 아니 찬제 찬제당 참만디 아니 샤와 선나 도바라 샤자 참마디 유동반이라 대신을 소와 샤와 소지 남샤 더 거장 거라 더 거그레 거장 거라 대장 대도
So then when there's also a way in which one can negate the way in which, by means of the reasoning of dependent origination, one can negate the position which asserts that uncreated things like nature, the nature of reality, and that cessations, etc., are real by means of intrinsic nature, and this is given in the next section here. So if someone who asserts that those things are real, those things meaning the uncreated things like particularly anything like space or the cessations which arise from knowledge. If you accept that those are real, then you necessarily need to accept, and indeed do accept, that these things have identities, and that they have that they are things which are identified, as well as things which have identities, or one could say also they are things which are to be defined and which have definitions. One also has to assert that they would be sources of causes for the separation from the things which are to be gotten rid of. So here, what is being called a cause of separation, in a technical term, referring to the path, which that is the realization of emptiness or understanding reality, is the cause which produces the effect of separating one from the things to be gotten rid of on the path. So these things to be gotten rid of are gotten rid of by the antidote to them, which is the understanding of emptiness and so forth, actualized on the path. So those the things which are called causes which give rise to separation, and then likewise there's a term called a result of separation. This refers specifically to cessations themselves, when by means of the path and by actualizing the direct understanding of emptiness, then one eliminates or separates oneself from some portion of that which is to be gotten rid of, the obstacles that are overcome on the path. Then that is called, that separation from that thing to be gotten rid of is itself, or the cessation of the thing to be gotten rid of is called the result of a separation. So this, you have to qualify this carefully, because it's called a result, but it's not an actual result in the sense of something that arises from causes and conditions. Rather, it's an absence or negation which is affected by something, by the removal of something. So the removal of the obscuration has a kind, as it were, a kind of result, which is the separation from that thing which one is attempting to get rid of on the path. So that also, and then likewise, that these things need to be accepted in terms of a presentation which establishes them as things that are knowable, and they have to be knowable by means of some kind of valid knowledge, valid cognition.
Oh yeah. 아니 가서 천전다 차주다 찬제다 참미샤샤 소와지 남샤 아니 줘봐 뒤체나 아니 대남랑 그 토자당 토자 고바르와 아니 천리당 자제 아니 가서래 참마라 소와당 제와지 고그레스 만데나니 제메 탐제 천전수 주와 도미니라 제메기 아니 천전수 주와 도미니라 대화 되게 나니 아니 라시지 주비 된두래 라시지 주비 대화 추바래 대화 되나니 라시지 주비 된두 대화래 라시지 주비 대화 추바 되고 와인데 된두래 된두라 가상 관시 따라야가 송안에 현라 되와 가그래 현라라 말야와지 고고와래 현라 마되와지 고고와래 인자 현라 되와 미룬왜 아니 대화 좋니고 말해 대화 어디 아니 댄데 따라 가야 돼 뒤에 현라 되와 미루매 세대 댄데 용고래 댄데라 현라 되와 지 고고래 아니 라신지 뒤에 되버라 아니 현라 되와 지 미루마래 아니 되와 좋투고 말해
So one who is asserting that these things exist has to, and someone who asserts that they're real, has to posit them in terms of existing in relations like something that is identified and its identity, the thing which is to be that is in terms of the path, the agent which which actualizes the separation from some portion of the obstacles, the result, as it were, of that separation, meaning the cessation itself, and then likewise the presentation of all of these in terms of being knowable, validly knowable and establishable by means of valid knowledge. All of these have to be accepted, and if that's the case, then if these things in terms of their being something which is one is to obtain, such as here cessation is that which one is attempting to obtain, and in terms of the identity of something, in terms of the identity and those things which are identified, and likewise, the things that are to be obtained are that one is to obtain would refer to the path. One has to obtain the path, and then by means of that obtain the cessation. So those are to be obtained, and then likewise all of these things have to be identified, and likewise. They have to be. They have to have some means of being validly known. If they were unrelated to those, then everything which is unrelated to them could function. Would function as if they were the things that are the identities and the things which are to be identified, and one wouldn't be able to avert that consequence that totally unrelated things could act as the identity of something and that which is identified. Totally unrelated things could act as that which is to be obtained and the agent which obtains that. And likewise, the totally unrelated things could relate to each other in terms of being something which is validly known, an object, and being the awareness which validly knows that. The relations, completely unrelated things, could operate in those relations. And if one's not able to avoid that sort of consequence, and if one was to, on the other hand, accept that they're related, then something that is established by means of that as real, by being established by means of its own intrinsic nature, since it's unsuitable for it to be contingent upon another, then one wouldn't be able to establish the relationships among them. So there's a dilemma there that, yeah.
다들이 지투자지 장가바니 대신도 요마체 차단 차단다 천천자 든저 제다 공바티 채나 차단 차단라 직타대지 따네 차단 차단이 오더라시 유튜브 찍이나 아니 타대 때문에 직당 차제직도 줘야 라시 유튜브 타대이나 아니 때문에 퇴선을 따내 장가바 차대 리베쩌바티 오직 타대 리베쩌바티 아니 두마체지 쳇다다 된루디 담바감 대바감 미니나 아니 콘도 되자라야 남바군도 충배 아니 되자 된루하고 아니 남바군도 충배 아니 담바준 준사장 고민해 봐 주로
So then next is a negation of them in terms of their being identical or intrinsically identical or intrinsically different. This is a similar kind of negation of the way they're posited here by the realist. So it says, likewise, one should negate them in terms of being, from having examined them as being identical or different. Here, identity or difference is being assumed by the realist opponent to mean they have to be intrinsically identical or else intrinsically different. So one should examine them in that way. If this kind of reasoned analysis, if one is not able to negate the way they're accepted as being, these things are being accepted as being established as real, then it would be, since it would be exactly the same or entirely comparable in all ways with respect to created things, then it would be impossible, one would be unable to negate things being real in any way whatsoever.
Oh yeah. 다 뒤제 랑시지 동바, 랑어의 동바 채동당. 대신이 다 동이 스그라 양답이 타 지바이. 대신이 된루도 되바 동이라 로수인 주요니. 가디 뒤제 랑시지 주위 랑경 오의 동시 되니 다 뒤자다 랑거 천이 랑시 주용 오의 동시 되니 최대라 팀 오메 비테인배 최코란라 가사라 소베 최강 강당 그러나 코란라 안에 최딩 오메 비테인배 쳇비 동바 인지 디신이라 니라니 랑경 오의 담바 유도 냠나 디신이라 대신이라는 랑게 담배가 유도 대신이 담배 된루를 냠나 대신이라는 랑게 오 예배 랑원의 예배 담배 유도 냠나 괜히 뒤자랑 시지 동바 땡라 바비 신지로 그 과사 타도 다 된다와데 대신에 라신이 여바 돼데 랑공 오요 여마 된바 여바 된겐데 아니 뒤제 라신이 주베 동라 땡라 바바기 아니 치지로기 과사 타도바 아니 규전지 뒤체베 땡들라 아니 군대지 따와래 군대지 따와 인신
So then here it's an explanation of the way in which the view that created things are the view that
그래와 담보데 가데 뒤제랑신지 주랑은 오에 동시위 되는데 최대다라 대단티 오메비 되는데 채동 아니 채비동 바 인기
So then next it says that if created things if the meaning of created things being empty of having an own character which is established by means of intrinsic nature, if that meant that that phenomenon didn't have its own nature, that is, it didn't have the nature. It was without the character of being that kind of phenomenon. Then it would entail, or it would be a case of a nihilistic form of emptiness. So one here the opponent is asserting that if created things, if the meaning of a created thing being empty of having its own character which is established by means of intrinsic nature means that that thing doesn't have any, is totally without the character of that sort of phenomenon, then that would be a nihilistic kind of emptiness. But with respect to suchness, since it has its own character, it exists as real. So the opponent is thinking in this way. If one thinks in that way.
랑은 또 차동에 돼 디셔거와 가데랑 뒤자랑시 주변 랑경 오에 또 시위 되니 최대 뒤자그 최대라 비오메 비트니 배 첩동 첩동바 인지 세대 오텔라 되니 뒤자랑시 주변 동바 땡란 베비 시주로기 과사 타두바 어다 타두바레세 아 타두바 아니 뒤제 이거 땡들로 꾸었다 봐. 인데 뒤제 태단한테 랑랑 그 최딩 오 매비 트인배. 저 인상 랑랑 그 최딩 오면은 아니 뒤제 때려라 군대지 따와 이신. 어떻게 차동대가.
So then this kind of view here is taking is the sort of ultimate final misleading point or point at which one can go astray and come a sort of a mistake that can lead one astray in establishing that created things are empty of being established by means of their own intrinsic nature. And this kind of error and deviation from the correct path of understanding this is a view which deprecates the dependent origination of created things. So here, created things arise by causes and conditions. If one's talking in terms of the causal form of dependent origination, all created things arise by causes and conditions. So this kind of view is leading to a deprecation of that form of dependent origination.
Oh yeah, 단 대신이라는 건 오해에 담바 여도 제가 돈이 된루도 아니 대신에 랑경 오 예배 담바 예도 냠제 돈이 된루데 되게나 어디와데 치마니 랑경 오연나 된루주 조도지 랑경 오연나 된루지 조도지 따다 메세 바 임베 돈이 코랑게 랑경 오예데 아니 된루 때마 맞추바 그러와 랑경 오연나 된루지 조도지 따다 메세 바 임베
So this wrong view that we just mentioned, to specify it again, it's the idea that if phenomena, if created things are the meaning of created things being empty of having their own character, which is established by intrinsic nature, means that phenomenon doesn't have the character of being that kind of phenomenon. So the thing is empty of its own character. It doesn't have it's completely without that kind of character. That sort of thing position is a nihilistic kind of emptiness, which precludes properly establishing the dependent origination of created things. It's a form of deprecation with respect to dependent origination. On the other hand, the second one, which is that since suchness has its own character, therefore it has to exist as real, as if it was as established as real. That sort of idea is that if something has its own character, it necessarily must be established as real, and that view then is the most fierce form, the worst form of the wrong view of eternalism, which superimposes or exaggerates the status of things to be real or to exist as if they were real. And since that's the case, both of these are wrong ways of engaging in the actual meaning of emptiness.
Oh yeah. That's bad. Tada rangona tomba ni kansala so korang maybe twenty rangula kansala so korang rangshin ji tombi twenty wa rangona me tomba seti. Oh rangona korang maybe twenty na che kanyan dembar tamjawa bo sojang rāngshīng yī tōng ñam nē chē kāyāng dāmbā chōpa mītē pā nī tā chē kāyāng dāmbā chōpa mītē pā nī tōng ñam nē mītē pā nī kātē rāngshīng yī chūgī rāngī ngōyē tōng pā nī kōrāng mē pā yī nā kāsā lā sō kōrāng mē pā yī nā rāng mē pā nī kāyāng yō pā mī sī pē chē kāshī dāmbā tam jāngāntā anī tam jāngāntā dāmbā mēpā dāmbā tam jāwa rūpī lūrī lā sōwa nām jāng rāngshīng jī chūgī rāngī ngō tōmbā yīmbē shī mā rūpē chē kāshī dāmbī chūptān jōpa nī shī mā rūpē chē kāshī anī dāmbī chē kāshī
So then the next point is being made that if being empty of being objectively existent meant that a thing was not itself, then the person who's making the assertion that some phenomenon is real, etc., and then by so I'm sorry, I'm having trouble here with this. No. If being empty of being being objectively existent meant that a thing was not itself, then then it would be invalid to assert that some phenomenon is real by thinking that that even so the subject is chugashik dimper dam chawapo. So kang
chugashik and dimper tam chawapo so jang rangxin ji dong nyam ne chugayang dimper choba mite panis. Chuga dimper choba miju pani.
Chuga dimper choba.
Dimper choba mite pani.
Chugashik dimper dam chawapo mite pan. Ale rangxin dong nyam ne chuga dimper choba mite pani. So here's showing that if it was the case that being empty of objective existence meant that a thing was not itself, then it would also be unacceptable to posit that something was real by thinking that the person, let's see, the person who is making the assertion that some phenomenon is real and as well are empty of intrinsic existence, thinking that they're empty of intrinsic existence, it would be invalid to assert that some phenomenon is real in that way. So then the text itself, the basic text here says that if being devoid of an own character, if that meant that it meant that a thing was not itself. So here the opponent is thinking that the opponent here is thinking that something being devoid of its own character, which is something being devoid of its own character, which is established by means of intrinsic nature, means that a thing is not itself. If that was the case, since it is impossible for that which is not itself to exist anywhere, then since the person who is making the assertion or making the claim that some phenomenon is real, and likewise the reasons, the scripture and the reasons and so forth, which are employed to establish that supposedly real thing as real, since they also are empty of having their own character, which is established by means of intrinsic existence, they would be non-existent. And since those things would be non-existent, the person who's making the assertion, the scriptures, the reasons that are employed to make this kind of attempt to make this kind of proof or assertion, all of these are, since they're empty of having their own character, which is established by means of its own intrinsic nature. Therefore, they're non-existent, and therefore positing some sort of philosophy which asserts the existence of some real thing, some real phenomenon, is a sort of thoughtless, incoherent way of speaking.
Oh yeah. That dumba repair children dembe yamba kibi deme to debatang. Then you got the deme to debatang. That don't be colonia de children deme to bang mawa. Don't be colonia de. Don't be to Masheva Kulu, you went there any children deme to Mawani, number good to Misumbani. That condition about Rebaki Drenam Lebar Tone. So, or the any Payuji Rande Chidin Rudumawa Tamje, Payuki Rande that Mamawa Chidin Rudumawa Tamje, never over the Rudu my way. Chidana go over the Rudumawa Yinzang, Tudamawa Tadala, Obama Selas. Oh, they made too much change, and the Tedaki, oh, they made too much change, Chokan and the Rudu Meter Bunny. 데메도 마 진짜 체크하냐 된주도 뭔다면은 초디리스다 표 간장의 초디다 베이징 개왕아마도 송기나 초디리 무조와 남래제 체질이 개봐도 파베 따스나고 아 개봐도 파바리 야 초디 그 유명함이 따와 되는다 야 여기 라랑 그 동바 되라 서와 대달래 아니 개봐도 파베 따스나고
그냥 딘룩도 믿어봐. 딘룩
대대도 예 파유지 란데 체탐데 딘룩도 마 탐제 하고서 네바랑 오버 딘룩도 마베 네바랑 오버 딘룩도 마베 대달라 오마와 셰셀라스 오버 딘분 데메도 마 친제 치 가양 딘룩도 메데바니 데메 인신데라 아니 체크하냐 된주도 믿어봐지 아니 초디 미조와 남래 체켜봐도 파베 따스나고 와 여기 유미미미 라시 여바야 매바야 미세다 야 동바들라 아니 랑랑 디자라 라시지랑 랑랑 동바 등간다 와 어디죠 다 초디 미조와 남래 자 체제 쳐봐도 파베 따스나고
알았어. 그나저 그냥 딘룩도 믿어봐.
거
그냥 딘룩도 믿어봐.
거도 저건 딘도 믿었어 말다 초디를 비 저는 레버 톤에 예서 파유지 란데 체 딘도 마와 탐제 라 딘도 마와 탐제 네바랑 오버 딘도 마와 인장 대달라 오버 마와 셰스 그레스 하고서 오버 데메도 마 친제 체크하냐 딘도 되고 말했어 믿어봐니 다 된다기 믿어봤더니 가서 초디 미조와 남래제 체제 쳐봐도 봐도 따스나고.
So then the next section, next portion of the text says that when one has to demonstrate that these two sorts of positions, the position that says that things are unreal by having negated the all phenomena as being real by reason, and then a faulty way of understanding emptiness, which holds that all phenomena are unreal. Superficially, they sound the same, but these two are entirely they're entirely different. And then this is explained in the next section here. So it says that having properly seen these procedures of reasoning in this system as given above, the system of reasoning that employs the analysis of things in terms of being intrinsically identical or intrinsically different, then the proponents of the Dharma, of our own Dharma in India, that is, this is referring to the other Buddhist philosophers in India. All of these assert that things are established as real. All of these other schools of philosophy. And all of the realists that are Buddhists definitely assert that things are that functional things are established as real, and therefore, and because of that, they are called realists. Those who assert that functional things are real. To expand that, however, if one has said that functional things are not real, has asserted that functional things are not real, and then one does not accept that any phenomena whatsoever is established as real, then this kind of position is the people that babble about this kind of position. This is a sign that they are even more superior than exceedingly superior to those who babble about this kind of position.
Oh, that's why.
Ngobo dinme tu ma chinche.
Oh, ngô dēmā mē bā chīnchē lā, ānē chē kāyā dēndrū tu mē tē bā. Dēmē tu mā chīnchē kā lā, tā dēndrū tu mē tē bā. Rā.
Ngobo dinme tu ma.
Dēmā mā wā dēmā chū bā yīn sī rī kā lā, ānē dēndrū tu mē tē bā.
Dēndrū tu tē.
Dēndrū tu mē tē bā.
Dēndrū tu mē tē bā. So once one has said that things are not real, if I'm not sure if I'm getting this. Did you get that? No. Nemason. Nemason.
Ngô dēmē tu mā chīnchē, dēmē tu dē chīnchē, ānē dēndrū tu mē tē bā nī. Tā bēnā dē rā wā, kā sō rē. 파유지 춥다. 된주도 마와 탐제 ngô 된주도 마와 대당 ngô 마와 셰세르스. 다 데메도 파유 줍다. 데메도 마와 체제 아니 쳐 가야 된주도 믿어 봐. 된저위 믿어 봐 대단히 아니 된다디 초디 간장기 좋은디 아니 병아라왜 무조 나래제 체제도 제바도 법에 따서 나고 제바도 법 따서 나고. 자
kunken dobolas will yorwa. Kunken do.
어머니 말이야 이게 디제 있잖아 랑기 동시에당. 그러와 랑동 캐는 거 요봐. 디제 있는 랑고 뭐에 또 랑동시 된 처들의 랑고 뭐에 비차동 캐는 게다. 아니 유민 밑다와 캐니까 강가를 잡고 있지.
All right. So then again to repeat this last section that here, so the contrast is between the Indian masters who were realists when they asserted realism, then they, having seen all of these kinds of reasonings that are accepted above, that have been presented above, then the Buddhist realists, all of these philosophers, say that they assert definitely that things, functioning things, are established as real, and that's why they're called realists. But here, then the contrast is being made between them and some of the earlier Tibetans who assert that functional things are not real, that you can't establish them as being real because you can't say that they either are or they are not. That sort of saying that they are or saying that they are not is not asserted, and therefore you can't say that they're real. But nevertheless, one would say that once they have said that things are unreal, and for them to then not assert that something is established as real appears to be a sign that they greatly exceed, or they're greatly superior, the most superior among those who babble about this position.
Oh yeah. That did not take on any medium Bama, Nisuma, Nanjang. Nisuma, the Congo Yage. Do there are things to Rango, where don't you tend to church as a rang, shooting all me by Tebe, Chaton, and get it down. And it only tend to see it, do them by you with him, but I said, oh, then not take on any medium Banisuma, Namjang, Kunzo, Rango, where to be. ngāyō tōngbī tsū ngāma tabu lā, rāng rāng ngāyō tōngbī tsū ngāma dā tētā lō tīmbā chēne. Tēn tāmbā tsū mā tsū lā tsē bī tsū nam. Tā yā gā chitā 제대로 소와 제대로 소와 ngār 레바 시오 거데스 얘가 돈이 된도 되바데 다다 미사바인 바 돈이 되나 라바 시와인 바데 어디 송고 있어리 된다도 주말에最不起나 기타 송하다 아니 ngār 셰바다 레바 시오 거데 야 안돼 버주다
그래서 돈이 된도 되고
你听说的没得把你什么南疆是然后我也当不出听我没被听把其他当你等着等个去你有啊大的等你有听这里都可能你了没得把你什么说的
디코니 미투바 니수마나 디 토니 덴루트 마와타
然后我也当把他当你等着的把你都啊
ngborangi ngoltupa
我那么然后我也当吧
So then with respect to those who assert that there are two sort of discordant aspects with regard to reality, and here the two discordant aspects of reality would be saying that things are empty of their empty in the sense of not having their own character. And then on the side of emptiness, they would say that nevertheless emptiness is established as real. So they posit that. They would say that phenomenal things, they've taken with respect to phenomenal things that they exist as previously described, the way in which we've said that phenomenal things are empty of having their own character, which is established by means of intrinsic nature. And so this is entailing, as mentioned already, a kind of nihilistic interpretation of emptiness, which negates the dependent origination or the ability to establish any kind of functional relationships among conventional things. So if things are empty of their own character, in that sense, they don't have any kind of character at all that can be validly established. So they made their this sort of view of this erroneous nihilistic view of phenomenal things, sort of compatible to their minds, and then whenever they then they engage in arguments or debates about whether or not the ultimate is ultimately established or not established, in debating about those things. One should understand how these sort of two positions have been explained previously. The way in which they, or where they arrive at, one should understand these two positions of this sort of nihilistic interpretation of phenomenal things as being empty in the sense of not having their own character and therefore not being able to be validly established through valid knowledge or in terms of functional relationships. And then the ultimate in the sense of being something that is ultimately existent or established as real. Those sorts of those two positions, when one needs to understand what they've arrived at, as previously explained, and then they need to be properly understood by means of that.
아니 내매대라 법에 리바 대다라 리베 최tem은 덴바 크네 오보다 최큰 꾸나 리베 덴바 크바인 잔 최kun라 덴바 크 매년 바타당 다단다 얘가 동비 콜로랑 거 뭐요 추와네 동비 콜로 니비 채동라 때네 랑거 오메바 그 채동라 때네 오다 최근 데메도 마와니 나바타제도 미소미 쳐
So then by that one has to understand the difference between the faulty way of understanding emptiness, which is this nihilistic form of interpretation of emptiness, where it says that, which entails that when one critically, through reason, negates things, phenomena as being real, then one is unable to accept any kind of existence. Rikpechenam dimpa kikni.
Rikpechenam dimpa kikni. Chidana ngobo shekula ane dimpa kemelemba. Ralu
Chukona dimpa
kemelemba.
So then,
Tombi kolu nyewe chedong datajin konto rango ngobo mebaki. Tombi ngobo kolu nyewe chedong la tena ngobo damji. ngobo da chögen dambar mawani namba tanjir sungu mare. Rango ngobo meba yinzang ane chötaji damba me sitajin.
Chukon dimetu mawa.
Namba tanjir mizumi cher.
Di ranglu ra chukon dimetu mawa.
chima degi rango ngo meba imze demetu mawa rawa. Che tamze rango ngo yuwa rawa. Taji yaga yuwa. Ibo. Da yaga. Kadi duja rangshi ji chuwe rango ngo dong shi yu che de rang ngo mebi che dong yin se jiwa. O desi ga. Da yaga duwa. 고야라 가데 뒤잖아 랑고 오요 주베 랑고 오요 또이 시위 되나 최대라 대단티 오메베 체동이 체비동바이 세도 디스 거래
니요바 디 추콘 데메토 마완
최구에서는 최구를 내가 키봐 내가 캐멜봐
데마 키멜바 랑루
내가 캐멜봐 키네시 리베 최남라 내가 키네 내가 주바 키네我보다 최고나 대바주와 캐멜은 바탕 대란루레디 봐 동비 콜로니에 차동라 때네我보다 최고 대바마와니 넘바 탐제 충구 말이
알레我보다 추군 대바 캐멜은 바라 동비 콜로니에 배치동 때네
다들 될래로 그래서
So then one has to be able to distinguish and see that by having understood what has been presented above properly, one has to understand the difference between that all functional things and all phenomena, one doesn't accept them as being real because one has negated by reason them being real or all phenomena being real. You have to distinguish that from this faulty form of understanding emptiness, which is which independence upon the sort of nihilistic understanding of emptiness. One holds that that all functional things and all phenomena are really non-existent, asserting that things are really non-existent. These two are entirely dissimilar. And one has to be able to distinguish them as discussed previously.
Oh, that's why. Oh, yeah. That is Jela. Do much a good number, Nena. And then young day, number Tembagalunda Gawa Tomate. Kadi Yagi, Yajara Madriva, Dimachani, Chita Troop, the Gana. 아니 되자라 신지 매바 주비 리바디게 아니 디마자 쳇탐자라 신지 주바이나 치다 주 제위 퇴가들이나 아니 리바 주주에 가서 양안대와 된지부 대화 남제 남송바 대제 상만을 비시 개와 수시 또바체 세야지 오 되기 양안대와 된지부 세가라 양대 된주도 쳇도가 수고하래 같이 되기로 하고 토바 공론 양안대와 된지부 야와 남지 남송바 대사면 놈이 텐저와 대 라바 마레스 대자 하마 놈이시 개와 수시 또바지 시 양대 지부 된지 아니 시안남 미담 송바당 어디 가르친 거래서나 양안 대화 된주부 시에게 덴바 태당 치다나 그 오라 덴바 킥시에게 덴바 니오데 가가자 와 치다나게 덴바 오라 덴바 킥시에데 라시지 주어마 덴바 주어라체 양안 대화 된주부 시에게 덴바데 덴바 취니 덴바 전담 덴바 시에게 전담 덴바 취니 세게 어디라 그죠 양안 대화 된주부 세데 어디라 고고래 미와 시 가서 시 양대 주부 된지 시나 미담 송화타 시나 미담 송바당 시가나다 디나네 덴바시기 나네 로 덴바시기 나네 양대 고된 주부 덴바리 시나 미담바리 시나 준바리 동아대 바꾼주다 발람데 숨부터 준바리 시과리 로 양한테 주부 현재시 미담비 되는데 갑디 루와라 숨베스 루와당 미담비 되 갑디 루와라 숨아 미루와 양한테 덴바 루와 준바 미루와 덴바 루와 준바 된전이라 자고하래 봐 어디 주부 된지 미담비 대딜에다 문도 시주부 진지 내셔니 몰라 시주부 된지 미담바 주부에 갑도 루와라 송배 수요하러 와 내가 냥대 주부 된지 시 미담바 송바탕 미담바데다 준바라 송거래
미담바 루와
준비돼 미담바 준비되는데 갑도 루와
So then So if all uncreated things are not real, then how does this not contradict with scriptures which teach that nirvana is real? There's an apparent contradiction there, and then this apparent contradiction gives rise to a kind of qualm or doubt, which is unacceptance of the position of our own position here, and this is presented in terms of an objection that the opponent would present, and the opponent in this dialogue would present. So the opponent here would say, if it as it is said. If the meaning of the verse out of the I think this the 두지랍도 마주베 디 롱디 카레
아레기로 디 이제라네 마주바 두마체네 시라토
디 사시로와 사시 So the two lines out of the basic wisdom which says that since created things are not established, meaning they're not established by means of their intrinsic nature, then how could it be possible for uncreated things to be established? So that's a statement there. If it's explained as above, as we've explained it, then how does one correlate that with the statement out of the 60 verses on reasoning, where it says that when the victors have said that nirvana is the sole truth or the sole real thing, then at that time how does it not remove any kind of leftover thing being real? So there, what's happening is that nirvana is being stated as being real in this passage of the 60 verses on reasoning, and it's being contrasted with the other three realities or truths of the Four Noble Truths, which so that suffering, origin of suffering, and path are contrasted with cessation. Cessation is being presented as if cessation or nirvana is being presented as the single or sole reality or real thing or truth. And that by implication excludes the other three from being real or true. And then where one, that being so, the three other truths being excluded, then what intelligent person would think that there's some of the other truths are left over to be real? So this, and that's the quotation then from the 60 verses. And then this is explained, the meaning of this here is being presented as if the nirvana alone is real, but the other truths or other three realities for Aryas are taught to be not real. And here, not real, the meaning of that has to be understood in the sense of spurious, in the sense of, or deceptive, that is, that they're spurious and that they appear in one way and they exist in another, that from the perspective of the misapprehension of things as being real, they're apprehended as if they were real when they're actually not in the way they appear. So that this statement up to this point is presenting the position of the opponent here, which is contrasting, saying that how is it that So nirvana is being presented as the sole real thing, the sole reality.
Di demba di tendu la ma che ba che tendan demba ro demba nang zu da ne zu tumba dembi ten nang zu da ne zu tumba jimbi ten nang zu da ne zu mi tumba o de la sung wa re yang de wa den ji bo so ka la nang zu da ne zu tumba ke demba re xian dong ha gun jung lam de sung bo de nang zu da ne zu mi tumba ke mi demba sung ba tang.
So, yes, to repeat that then, nirvana is, in that passage, it appears as if nirvana is the sole real thing, whereas all the others that are included within the other three truths are taught as not being real. Here, not being real means they don't exist as they appear. The suffering, origin of suffering, path, all are spurious in the sense that the way they appear and the way they exist are discordant. There's not the coincidence or correspondence between the way these other three exist and the way they appear. So they're deceptive also in that sense.
Oh yeah. So, 다 뒤에라 체인도 밖에 놓지 않네. 동반인이 땜베도 제외 아니 돈이 땜베도 대다. 동반인이 땜베도 제외 신이 숨바 좀 된지 돈이 땜베지 아니 또 용신이 숨바 대다. 대다 긴기 아니 좀 된지 녀몬도 배신도 숨바래. 대다 군지 녀몬도 감디냐 바체마인 세나 감세나 아니 라신에리 딘바레 라 감디냐바 체마이 셰 라신메베 돈이 덴베 도데남니 녀몬보미 텐도 인지 아니 라신남다 그 감메바 덴바 미셰 숨바다 치다 민가냠나 라신남다 그 감메바 덴바 민바다 치다 민가셰나.
So then the opponent's objection here continues by citing another text, which is the praise to Dharma Dhatu, also by Arya Nagarjuna. And that says, the verse that's quoted here, it says, all of these sutras that the victorious Buddha has taught, whatever he has taught, which teach emptiness, all of those are for the removal of, or by means of all of those, the mental afflictions are gotten rid of or averted. But it does not, those teachings on emptiness do not negate or do not so they don't negate or they don't eliminate this element, and the element here is it has reference to the naturally existing lineage within us. It's the minds being empty of being real. The minds being empty of being real is this naturally existing lineage within us. So the statement in this verse is it can be understood as that Arya Nagarjuna is saying that whatever sutras the Buddha taught on emptiness do not eliminate this naturally existing lineage, the mind's absence of being established as real.
Oh yeah, that tell him go tell never remember.
So then the commentary here explains that all these sutras which teach the emptiness, which is absence of intrinsic existence, are for the purpose of getting rid of the mental afflictions, but they are not taught in order to not teaching the non-existence of this element, which is naturally pure. The naturally pure element is another name for this naturally existing lineage, the lineage which exists exists within us by nature.
Oh yeah, that one. Kandere sana 대단히 농구천을 로바슈와 인데스. 농암에 정 가르래서 리바 투지 가서 양안대와 댄지부 세대. 양안대와 댄지부 세대. 그런데 담바 아니 농암에 전에 좀 된대지. 그런데 담바 담바니 찍대. 디다디 밀루위 최전 양안에 대와고. 그런데 담바 담바 찍대. 스타트 난주대 여기 양안대와 댄지부 세 담바데 난주를 내도 팀에 담바 전단 담바라샤니. 그런데 담바 담바니 찍대. 디다디 밀루위 최전 양안에 대와고. 밀루와 세나 난주다 내주 팀바. 양안에 대와고. 뒤제 탐제니 준발루위 최전노. 다 뒤제지 최 탐제. 아니 준발루위 최전 난주다 내주 미팀바.
So that the opponent then has presented that kind of objection and saying, how would it be that these would not be contradictory? The way in which one has presented emptiness above, and then the sutra, which these quotations which assert that nirvana is the sole real thing, and likewise that this naturally existing element or the naturally existing lineage, which is the naturally pure element, that these exist. How can these not be contradictory? Then this sort of objection that the opponent is presenting here is a misunderstanding. It's an interpretation of the meaning of these scriptures in an incorrect way. And then regarding that, it says that here, with respect to the meaning of the prior scripture, the prior passage that's been quoted, and here it says the Bhagavan or Lord Buddha said, it has the same meaning as this statement from Sutra, where the Bhagavan Buddha said, "O monks, this noble this highest truth or highest real thing is one, and to wit, it is nirvana, which has the property of being undeceptive. Undeceptive here refers to, again, things existing as they appear. That is, nirvana exists as it appears. There's no discordance between the way it appears and the way it exists. And then the sutra passage here continues by saying that all created things are spurious, deceptive things. They have the property of being spurious and deceptive. So in this passage of the sutra, then it's showing that created things are spurious and deceptive in that they don't exist as they appear.
Oh yeah. Jesus be 10 years. Do tease. 아니 그런 담바 탐바를 지다 미루 신양을 대하고 도 te기 냥대 담바당. 뒤제 탐제 좀 벌로 최전도送라. 뒤제 탐제를 좀 벌로 최전으로送라. 댐비테 동아메 아니 미루와 디다 미루비 최전 양을 대하고 동아메 댐비테 미루와 당. 준비된 도치메 루와라 셰베 루와라 사와 샤라.
So then, so this is the meaning of this sutra is as follows: that that sutra shows that where it says that it teaches that reality, that nirvana is real, and that all phenomena are spurious. And here, the meaning of real, the prior sutra. Prior line in the sutra indicates that it has the meaning. The meaning of real in this context is undeceptive, and then likewise that the meaning of spurious is explained by the subsequent part of this sutra quotation in the sense of being deceptive. So that's extremely clear. Is explained in extremely clear fashion.
준비되는 도치메 루와라 신도 싸와 샤라. 태양 아니 냥대니 세가나 다여게 고된 로 반자반배 차와 고된 냥대니 아니 지다 냥대들라 라신 냥대 세 아니 가서래 제 저바 잠시나 망보 냥대 시지 줘래. 봐. 인자다 태양 냥대니 고된 냥대 고대는 지니 냥대니 전담 된발라 다다게 가소리 반자 대단 제비查자 아니 심지 그래서 랑기 심기 띵기 천이데 아니 반자 대단 제비查자 대단查完나 안 동반이데 아니 심딩기 천이데 반자 대단테查完나 심딩기 천이데 고된 거 주고아래 와 냥대니 전단 된발라 저바 주지 저와 샤바들 인베 스타 냥대라 전단 된바 인베 캡스와 고된 전단 된바 인바 다 병견되라 웃음이 여가 손야지당 아니 우마마 지보 병견 손야지기 이유아래 고된 전단 된바 대발라 웃음이 캐와 손야 믿음바 매도 스잖니 아니 동동게 날한테 손야 이라 야
웃음니까?
웃음니까 동게 더 봤어요.
So then with regarding that, nirvana is ultimate reality, and here ultimate reality in the sense that nirvana is a kind of cessation. It's a cessation which results from the elimination of some portion of the obscurations or the obstacles that are gotten rid of on the path. So here, one way of discussing nirvana in this context, there are multiple meanings of nirvana or multiple forms of nirvana, but here the one that can be under discussion is called natural nirvana, naturally existing nirvana, and that refers to the emptiness of one's own mind, which is when the obscurations which obscure that emptiness have been removed by means of the path, such that all of those obscurations have been separated. Then that absence of those obscurations with respect to the emptiness of the mind is itself referred to as the Rangshin Chidang.
Yandela Ranshin Yande, Mambuari, that to them Dembati Yande.
In Goten,
Odere, Yandere, Ranshin Yandere.
Simgi Tony
Simgi, any Banja Tedante, Chadu Zamba, any something which changed the Chawati Quatanti or to go. Number Pacha Melan with Yuji, Pacha Melan, the Banja Tegi, Unye Chene. Any Simgi Banja Tedan Chawana, Simgi Chunidi, and a Quadan or to go.
So then, the nature of one's own mind, when all of the obscurations have been removed from that by means of the path, that is through the application of the direct antidotes to those obstacles that are removed on the path. When that nature of the mind has been entirely, when all of the obscurations and obstacles that are to be removed on the path have been separated from that nature of the mind, then that is referred to as a natural nirvana. And so here it's being referred to, it could be referred to as ultimate reality as well. There are multiple other applications of the term ultimate reality that also could be applied here as well. So this nirvana, which is being discussed here, as is as it's explained in the commentary on the 60 verses of reasoning, as being ultimate reality, and when no, so batare yimpe, shepatar yimpe. No, reproduce job. We'll stop there because there's more to go. Lots more.
Dagi Jini Savi Gewadi, Dendandro, Kina, Kambenda, Javaji, Dembi Nimbu Rindu Saji, Jo Sashi, Biji, Shushin, Metoda, Rilani, Ninde, Jemba, Saji, Shindu, Midi, Buwayi, Drogena, Jaba, Shoyi, Danguru, Rana,